So anyways, set up this trip. Everybody I know, we're going to do ayahuasca. We're meeting Don Howard, who's, we've done 2 documentaries with him now. Latest ayahuasca documentary is with him as well. Awesome guy. He's like Gandalf the White Wizard. So we're setting that up. But I knew this one was going to get interesting because about a month before, sometime in August, I wake up in the middle of the night. We're going in September. I wake up in the middle of the night and from a dream. And in this dream, I look over, and to my left side, I see this demon head, and this gnarly looking demon head, Nosferatu looking thing. And he was just looking away. And in my dream, he looks at me, stares at me dead in the eye, and goes, "I'm going to kill you on September 23rd.
Oh, shit.
Like super fucking specific, right? So I wake up and I'm a little freaked out. I was like, damn, that was specific. So I go to and I knew my Peru trip was over that time. I go to the calendar of events, the itinerary, and that night is the night we're drinking ayahuasca for the first time because we're doing Wachuma afterwards. So September 23rd was the night we're doing ayahuasca. And
so did you start thinking your mind was fucking with you? Like, for sure? Like, this is just your brain setting yourself up for a fall?
Yeah, I played out all the scenarios, right? And I try to like, what was that? Maybe it was a metaphor. Maybe, hopefully it wasn't for real. Hopefully,
Right.
But, and I might have known that date in my head. So I'm not trying to think this is supernatural. It's all kind of metaphor, but it was very specific. So by the time we get out there, I knew that I had this feeling like, man, some shit's going to come up here. Cause that was like, something's in my psyche that's incredibly specific about this. So we're going into ceremony, and one thing I like to do to prepare for ceremony, and I do this for the whole group, is I do a meditation where it anchors them to their consciousness, and I put that consciousness in their heart, right? So, because the head can get really squirrely, and you can get lost in belief and different ideas and thoughts. And if you identify yourself as consciousness, which I tell them to symbolize as a brilliant piece of white light in your heart, and you symbolize that and you imagine that there.
That's an anchor?
That's like your anchor. That's your anchor to home. And then, I talk to them how when you imagine that there, then you can imagine it actually showing up atomically, like in the rules of quantum physics, the observer effect. You observe it, then it's connected to yourself, all your cells, connected to all things in space, connected to the, to the one source of consciousness, the collective consciousness, that thing. And it just kind of anchors you and keeps you in this feeling of safe. So whatever squirrely thing is happening in your mind, you do that. But this is important for the story that I'm setting up because, so I do that meditation, and that's where I go into these psychedelic experiences, anchored to my heart, connected to the cosmos, connected, to the infinite through that. And it's a very kind of comforting meditation to do. So I'm going through, and I take the medicine, and right off the bat, it's like super, it's super chill. Like I'm seeing beautiful scenes, like flowers, these flowers of light. And I get this message like, hey man, this one's going to be easy. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And it was like, we're just going to fix a few things. So I felt like what feels like all these little doctors of light, the doctorcitos, these little light beings like going through my body and start fixing little different areas, fixing little parts in my head, and they're fixing little parts here. And meanwhile, my mind is being distracted with flowers and butterflies, and it's super chill. The only memorable vision I had was I go to this shrine in this jungle, and I see this giant monkey human hybrid that's super happy. And it's like, there's just butterflies and everything going around. And then inscripted in stone, it says, "We are the pleasure monkeys." And that's what I've been using that word today. And it's this like really cool thing. Like, oh yeah, we are pleasure monkeys. We're here to enjoy all of the best shit that we can. And I start thinking about, the foods and the people and the camaraderie and everything around me. Super positive. Meanwhile, the light's going through my body and fixing it. And then, as this really idyllic thing, and I think we're at an hour and a half in, I'm like, fucking, we're good. Like, whatever this demon was, not going to worry about it. It's fine. And then right to my left, I see this gnarly looking Gollum, Lord of the Rings looking fucking my precious Nosferatu demon guy. And he looks at me, and I was like, one of the practices that I have is anchoring to that point in my heart. I encourage the feeling of invincibility, like it can't be harmed. This is your consciousness. It's this peace in your heart. It can't be harmed. And I see this demon, and it looks at me, and then it jumps towards me, and it starts biting my neck.
Whoa! In
my vision, right? So this gnarly looking demon is biting my neck in my vision. No, it's all in this like a movie of me being played out, right?
And are you just going with this?
But the emotion
at
this
feel
point
ratcheted up,
right? So at this point, I know it's eating in my, in that vision. It's eating through my neck. And I see what its aim is. And it's aiming to eat through my neck and eat that thing in my heart, the white light in my heart that I've been meditating about. Like, that's what it wants. So in what I thought was this like heroic act of invincibility, I was like, go ahead, man. You want that thing? Go ahead. Eat all the way through me. Get that thing. It's fine. You know, instead of, because I've learned in a lot of these practices, the more you resist these things, the more aggressive they become and the harder you just get in this dance. So the more you surrender generally, the better off you are. So it's like, oh, you want to eat that thing? Go for it. So it goes through, eats through my neck, through my chest, and it grabs a hold of that piece of white light in my heart, snatches it. And right at that moment, I've never felt more fear. I feel like I got shot with a bullet. Like I felt like I went dead, completely dead. And fear just shot through my entire body. And I was like, oh, fuck, I just gave this demon my consciousness. I just gave this demon my soul, and I let him have it. It's like all the fucking vampire movies. Like, they can't come in unless you give them permission, then you give them permission. And all of these fucking thoughts are going through my head. And meanwhile, I felt completely dead, like hollow from the inside. Fear was at like 1,000%. And then the Icaros of the shaman start getting more intense. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm fucked. So I start negotiating with this Nosferatu demon guy. And I was like, man, I'd really like to get my peace back. Like, you mind giving it back? Like, you know, it's all good. I understand you have your place, you know, for polarity to exist. There needs to be the dark. There needs to be the light. You know, it's all good, man. We're all on the same team. Ultimately, we're all, you know, consciousness in the cosmos. He's having none of it. Right. And then finally,
is he
like
talking to you?
He's sometimes talking back and sometimes just kind of like mocking me, really, like kind of laughing. And then he goes, here you go. And he gives me something. And I greedily, like a hungry child, like grab it and I stuff it in my heart. And it was this dead piece of rock, like a dead stone. And it's just, this demon's just laughing at me. Ah, ha, ha, ha. I have your heart, and watch where I'm going. And he goes and he takes it, and I'm following him, and he, you know, through this kind of like wormhole thing, and he takes it, and I see who he's giving it to. And then I go, oh, fuck, because he's giving it to the demon of all demons. And this is very archetypal, and I'm not religious, but these archetypes are coming through in this kind of, you know, demon type of sense. But anyways, this demon that he gives it to, I can only call the world crusher, because literally he's of the size where I'm seeing him hold planets and crushing them into dust in his hands. And he's just moving the cosmos, these giant horns made of this deep, dark, black and red smoke, and just laughing in the ecstasy of destruction as he takes galaxies and he rips them apart, like the ultimate black hole of destruction and evil. And I go, fuck, like that guy's got my heart piece now. Like the little demon gave it to that thing. So I'm thinking, like, what the fuck do I do? I can't even communicate with this demon world crusher. Like, there's no way I can even talk to him. He's too big. So I try to, like, well, maybe I can blow myself up. You know, like maybe I can get bigger. I'm thinking like video game style, like that's going to work. Like maybe if I fucking get bigger, then we can talk and negotiate and I'll be on his level. Totally doesn't work. I can't get even near the size of him in my vision. So I'm like, fuck, what the fuck do I do? Like, what am I going to fucking do here? And, and I get the idea. I was like, man, I can't fight this thing. There's no way. But, you know, understanding that, again, that the consciousness and the cosmos needs dark and light, I understand the value of the polarity of that, something that dark. You know, I understand that that's necessary. It's like, man, I got to send this thing love. So I go and I imagine floating up to its head, and right between its eyes, I kissed him on the forehead. And I know it sounds weird. And for a moment, I see his eyes go googly eyes, like the emoji heart thing, where hearts appear in the world crusher's eyes. And It was really kind of cartoony. And for that moment, he relinquishes and he's like, you know, I can give this back to you, but we never took it. No one can take that piece of your heart. It's yours. You know, it's impossible to steal unless you believe it can steal. And it was just like beautiful wisdom. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. But I was still like shaken up by that. You know, I was still kind of fucked up. But that move worked. And in that moment where his eyes were all googly hearts, he's like, man, we can't take that from you. That's yours. So I had this renewed sense of confidence. And so I started kind of going. It was kind of more peaceful then. The Icaros seemed to be following my trip, died down. I'm going through about all the relations in my life and the different, you know, kind of doing the general work you do on ayahuasca. And I get to a member of my family who's really, you know, suffering from some mental illness that is really dark, like a dark mental illness. And I think that now maybe the world crusher is my friend. So I get the feeling the world crusher has, that element of darkness is in him. So I think in my imagination and kind of call back on that being, and immediately it comes up, but in a different shape, like a giant fucking sea serpent, and it's wrapping these tentacles around my body like a leviathan from the deep. And I'm like, whoa. I was like, what do you think about maybe letting, this family member, what do you think about letting him go? And he's like, you want his soul? I'll make a trade, your soul for his. And I was like, fuck that. Right. So at that point I was like, man. And then I was like, I don't think I can make that trade. He's like, coward, you wouldn't do that for someone you love. You're a coward. I thought you said you were invincible. And he starts mocking me. Clearly not my homie. Like, clearly the world crusher takes his job seriously. So eventually I have to go like, you know what? That's between you and him. I can't step in there. Like, there's nothing that I can do for you. So I just had to let it go, and I let him go, not making that proverbial deal. And again, I don't think this is like really happening. This could just be archetype, right?
Of course.
But so anyways, from there, I was like, fuck, man, this has turned super dark. Like, can I get some help? Like, and since the archetype was demons, I was like, can I get a Jesus in here or something? Like some kind of light? And nothing light would come. Although I did get a cool vision of like Jesus meeting the world crusher. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be squared, like showdown, UFC ultimate, Jesus versus the world crusher. And immediately they turned super gay. And they started making out with each other and having sex. Jesus and the world crusher started like having sex with each other. And it was the wildest vision, because it was this like the ultimate love affair, like the two polarities of the cosmos, like all of the love and forgiveness and all of the power
Who was the
and
top?
Destruction. The fucking darkness was the top.
The darkness was banging Jesus?
Jesus would turn, he was man, woman. It was like super, he could be whatever he wanted, but they were dancing in this like passionate love affair, which was like all creation.
So
like,
Jesus became man and woman?
Jesus was man, woman. It was just like love versus power and darkness and destruction, creation versus destruction, like the two polarities dancing, but expressed as the world crusher, this devil-like creature, and then Jesus, which started as kind of Jesus-y and then went into woman and then went into man. Whatever. It was, at least gave me a chuckle. And it was like a moment of like relief from this really fucking heavy trip. But I still wasn't getting any personal interaction from anything on the light side, And so I'm still like kind of a little shaken up, especially after, the world crusher called me a coward and I couldn't help, this person in my family. And it's like, fuck. So then I see this, I keep trying to reach out to like the helpers, like something from the light. And I get this very faint message. Sometimes the visions are super clear and sometimes they're faint. It feels like you're kind of reaching for it, but I'll go with it. I'll use my imagination as a bridge. So I kind of go with it. It's like, here, we have this thing for you. And put it in your heart. It'll give you extra, it'll be what you're looking for. And it's this brilliant ruby-like red stone, right? This brilliant ruby stone. And I was like, oh, wow, that's beautiful. Like, I always imagined the thing in my heart being white, but red, all right, it's cool. I put it in my chest, and then instantly I could feel myself getting this like hunger for power.
Whoa.
And feeling like the world crusher, like I wanted to destroy and manipulate. And I was like, oh shit, that's not the thing. That wasn't a real gift. That was getting tricked again. So I pull this thing out of my heart, and for sure, like I can just feel the evil emanating from it. Right. And I can hear the distant laughter of the world crusher, like, ha ha ha, fooled you again. You accepted this stone. And so I have this ruby stone in my vision. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? Right. So I have this place that I've developed in my meditation. It's like a little it's like my happy place, right? It's a place I go and I imagine it in my mind. It's like my happy place. So I was like, all right, I'm going to put my stone in my happy place and I'm going to leave it there in my vision. Well, I put it there in the happy place and it turns to fucking like swamp and bog and everything. All the trees are withering, like you see in one of those fantasy movies where the darkness anchors into a place and all the life dies around. And I was like, fuck, man, I can't put it there. It's going to destroy this world I created. So like I bring it back and I was like, I hear this voice, like, just put it in your heart. You can hold it. You're strong enough to hold it. So like, okay, yeah, maybe my heart's the only place I can put it. It's the only way it's going to be safe. Put it back in there. Bad idea. Obviously that was another trick, but I'm really getting shaken here because I keep getting fucking tricked and I keep not knowing what my mind is telling me that's helpful or whether it's coming from something else. So eventually I like move it out of my body and I'm looking at it. I was like, fuck, the only way that I can get rid of this is to dissolve it evenly across the entire spectrum of creation, right? Take this and dissolve it into the all so that the entire game, all of good, all of bad, everything can hold this amount of evil. It's too concentrated for any one thing to hold. I got to dissolve it. And I tried that move with my imagination and it worked. Boom. And the red stone dissolves and then all of creation holds that darkness and that power. And I'm sitting there and I just, at this point, just fucking surrender. Like I've just been totally getting my ass kicked, you know, for the majority of this trip. And especially just having been tricked and I'm just kind of like in a state of surrender. And at that point, I feel like kind of like Iron Man style. I feel this like breastplate like come slap onto my chest and it has this really beautiful fire opal stone. And this helmet come on my head, blink. And this helmet comes and it has this other brilliant white light. And I feel wings shoot out from my back, right? And it's ayahuasca. This shit's crazy. And I'm flying in the air and there's a bunch of like eagles and other birds and it's all like peaceful and all good. And it was like all of the allies, like all of the good guys, all the good team kind of came through and they were flying over this world that was dark and fires and pollution and chaos. And they were just bringing this like fresh air of like white light. And I was just cruising. And so for the last 30 minutes of the trip, I was just literally like flapping my wings in the vision, just kind of cruising over the world with all my eagle homies. And it was fucking one of the gnarliest, obviously, experiences I've ever had, no doubt.
That's why it's illegal. But your speech is going to be used in the Senate. They're going to get together with Congress. They're going to play this speech back. This is a successful guy, folks. Look what he's doing.
Yeah.
Goes down to the goddamn jungle. Fighting world crushers, and Jesus is gay. Do you want Jesus to be gay? You want that? Oh, Jesus can be a woman. Jesus can be a man. He can be a woman. He's gender fluid.
Yep.
Wow. It's intense.
And again, I think the lessons, it's really just about that was the type of resistance that could summon the very best out of me. You know, the move to show the world crusher love, the move to, you know, all of the moves that I had to make, I was only able to learn about myself from the extreme pressure of that vision. And that's one of the beautiful parts of the ayahuasca vision. It tends to give you like just enough that if you show up with your best and you choose love and you choose the things that are going to bring out the best outcome, you'll make it through. But it brings you to that very fucking brink where it feels like, man, you know, the stakes are really, really high.
It's interesting because I think stories like that and experiences like yours, although you've got to go somewhere to experience them legally, those stories are what people are going to rely. That's like almost like a road map of the potential experiences that people are going to come back with and go, dude, look what he's saying about this. Do you want to go there? Do you want to go? How do we get there? You got to go over the mountain. You go over the mountain to meet the world crusher. Fuck, man. Okay, he definitely came back. Yeah, he's back, man. He's in Austin. He's hanging out.
Yeah,
like one day, all this stuff is going to be legal, and one day, all sorts of psychedelic experiences, whether it's mescaline or fucking mushrooms, whatever, they're all going to be really commonplace. Mm-hmm. They're going to be as commonplace as going to get a massage or as commonplace as, you know, taking a yoga class. It's just right now we're in a weird place where someone like you telling that story seems like a crazy person.
Yeah.
You know, even talking to me who's experienced a bunch of shit, you know, and I've experienced a bunch of shit with you. I mean, I know you're not crazy. You're just relaying this very odd thing that very few people are ever going to be able to relate to right now. But one day it'll be real common. And I think it's more common now. I think when you saying this now, way more common. Do you talk about ayahuasca and people understand what you're saying than just 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, no doubt, because people have had similar experiences of reference. I mean, I think the way that a lot of people experience this is in archetypes that you learn about, and there's a different character in the story, you know, which is something you can learn from, like the Harry Potter movies, like Jordan was talking about. You know, you can learn from those archetypes, but it's different when, you know, you get a chance to play as the main character.
Yeah.
You know, playing as the main character gives you a whole different series of lessons. Like none of these themes that came up, you know, are original themes. These are all deep archetypes. Even fucking the Lord of the Ring, like the stone, It was a stone of such evil. How does it be destroyed? It destroyed in the fire from whence it came, right? All of creation created and concentrated, and it was dissolved in that. I didn't think about it then, but I could see the analogies. You see the deal with the devil, you know, that that I'll trade my soul for this one. You see these archetypal themes, but I can watch as many Faust plays as I want. I'm never going to feel what that feels like until I have the devil mocking me for being a coward, for not being willing to make that deal, and then you understand these certain things in a much, much deeper way. And that's, I think, the value. It just puts you up in this situation where you have stake in the game and you have choices to make. And that's where you get the real value.
I think Roger Huerta would have put that World Crusher in a tie clinch, slammed some knees right into his fucking stupid face.
For sure. And that's part of it. Some of the shamans, that's their move, right? They're constantly trying to get mastery and dominion over all of these things.
Wow.
I just find that the more you try and fight with them, the more they just love it. Like, whatever thing you're trying to fight, whatever darkness you're trying to fight, the more you fight with them, they're just like, fuck yeah, bring it on. This is what I do. You're in my house now, bitch. Like you're trying to wrestle with Ben Askren, like they got the drop on you. But the minute you change the game and recognize them as an important part and send them love, that's when the conflict ends.
One day, ladies and gentlemen, you too will be able to go to your local ayahuasca center and partake. It's already been approved by the Supreme Court for a couple different churches, 2 different churches, I believe, right?
Yeah,
in New
Church
Mexico.
of Santa Daime and UDV.
Yeah, and they are legally allowed to serve super high potency ayahuasca.
Yep.
Rick Strassman went over there and did it with him. He said it was incredible. They're all wearing like golf shirts.
All wearing white. You have to sit up, sit down, talk, to do different things. Yeah, it's all coming. Whether it's religious or whether it's medical or whether it's, I think the plants are going to show up when humans need the help the most. And I think that's the spot we're in. And, ayahuasca, it's not for everybody. Like, don't everybody rush out and do it. Like, do it if that's what's really calling for you. If you want to learn more, I just released that documentary. It's free. Just go to drinkthejungle.com. That's the URL. Drink the Jungle. Check it out. And get an idea if that's for you. But there's so many ways, and you don't need to do plants. You can do it with your fucking breath. You can do it with yoga. You can do it with floating. You can do it with legal weed. There's so many ways to climb the mountain. But finding those ways to bring out the best part of yourself, essential.
Drink the jungle, bitches. Don't be scared to drink the jungle.
Drink the jungle.
Don't be scared to drink
Jungle
the jungle.
spicy when you drink
All right.
it.
Let's end this right there. It's perfect.